Welcome back to Ralph's Sort of True Stories. A little Chardonnay here, and we're going to talk about wives and marriage and women. And I want you to know going in, I love my wife, and I love women in general. In fact, women are magnificent creatures. You give them sperm, you can get a baby. You give them a house, and they'll make a home. You give them groceries, and they'll make a meal. And if you give them crap, they'll give you a load of shit. That's just the way it works, and we ought to just know that going in. And of course, all marriages start off with a honeymoon, and everything is blissful and wonderful. This story involves an Asian groom and bride. His father owned a Chinese restaurant, and she, the bride, worked there. And they met and they fell in love. And they got married, and they went on their honeymoon. And as it turns out, the groom knew nothing about sex, so he's very, very nervous. And the bride was also a virgin, but she had been studious and studied the Kama Sutra, so at least she knew all the different positions. The groom comes out of the bathroom, very nervous. He slides between the sheets and says, "So, what do you want to do?" And the bride says, "We could try 69. And he looks confused and thinks about the restaurant and says, "You mean you want broccoli and beef?" So I'm not sure how the rest of the night went, but it was probably pretty interesting. Similar situation like this big, brawny guy marries this little petite girl, and they're on their honeymoon, and he takes off his overalls on that first night and he hands them to her. And he says, "Put those on." And she says, "I can't wear those." He said, "Now I want you to remember that I wear the pants in the family." So she takes off her panties and she hands them to him, says, "Put those on." He says, "I can't get into those." And she says, "And you won't if you don't change your attitude." So we have to remember where the power is. Similarly, it happened to be an Italian guy, not picking on the Italians, but, Mr. Macho. And after they come back from the honeymoon, he says to his wife, he says, "Now, I want you to know, I expect when I get home from work, dinner will be on the table. And then you will draw me a nice bath, and then you will give me a massage. And in the morning, who's going to dress me and comb my hair?" And she says, "I think it's probably going to be the funeral director." Again, I think she's making her point. Similar situation. And I can't confess that this was my wife because it makes me look bad. But I can just tell you, the first time this man and woman were together, he looks at her and says, "Am I the only one you've ever been with?" And she said, "Yes." So he's feeling, really good. She says, "All the others were 9s and 10s. So I think that's a pretty bad put down. Now, as the marriage progresses, things get a little less intense romantically. I remember my mother saying to my father, I'm having an affair." And he said, "Oh, really? Is it going to be catered?" So I think at that point, he tried to kind of miss the point. I know with my wife, we still have a very good relationship, but I asked her once, I said, "What are my choices for dinner?" And she said, "Well, that would be yes or no." And then even worse than that, once I was sitting watching a sports show, and she was behind me in the kitchen doing whatever, and I hear her say, "Sweetheart, what would you like for dinner? Would you like lamb or chicken?" Oh, I perked right up and I said, "Ooh, lamb sounds real good." She said, "Shut up, I'm talking to the dog." So I want to thank you for watching Ralph's Sort of True Stories. And come back soon. We've got some more stories about relationships. And before you go, down there at the bottom, click that thumbs up, go over there and hit that subscribe, and then hit that bell right next to it, and we'll let you know as soon as we load another video. In the meantime, thank you. Thanks for watching Ralph's Sorta True Stories.